Have you ever met someone who seemed warm, honest, and real? But deep down, something didn't sit right. Their words were perfect, their smile convincing. Yet you couldn't shake the feeling that you were only seeing a version of them, the version they wanted you to see. What if I told you this isn't rare? It's almost everyone. Nietzsche believed that most people spend their lives wearing masks, not the kind you can see, but the kind built from charm, politeness, and half-truths. And the most unsettling part? They're so good at it, they sometimes forget who they really are. Everyone wears a mask. Your friends, your family, your coworkers, even you. We like to think we know people, that the version they show us is the real them. But deep down, we know that's not true. We've all had that strange moment when someone you thought you understood says something or acts in a way that makes you think, who are you really? We see it in the polite smiles that don't reach the eyes, in the casual "I'm fine" that hides a storm, in the overconfident laugh that's just a little too loud. Most of us ignore these moments. We brush them off as quirks. But Nietzsche didn't. Long before modern psychology gave it a name, Nietzsche saw through these masks. He believed that human beings are constantly acting, putting on performances, rehearsed over years, to survive in the social world. Sometimes the mask is meant to protect us from being judged. Sometimes it's meant to control how others see us. And sometimes it's a tool for power, a way to hide our intentions until it's too late for anyone to stop us. The unsettling truth is that masks aren't rare. They are the norm. And the better someone wears theirs, the harder it is to see what's underneath. Nietzsche's gift and his warning was that if you look closely, you can catch the tiny cracks, a glance that lingers too long, a choice of words that doesn't match the emotion, a sudden change in tone when the topic shifts. These are not accidents. They are glimpses into the truth, the person behind the performance. Once you learn to see them, you'll never look at anyone the same way again. I didn't always notice the masks. For most of my life, I took people at face value. If someone smiled, I believed they were happy. If they said they were on my side, I trusted them. Until one day, I learned the hard way that words and smiles mean nothing without truth behind them. It wasn't a big dramatic betrayal, no grand movie scene. It was something small, subtle, but it left a mark. A friend I'd known for years had been telling me what I wanted to hear, while quietly doing the opposite when I wasn't around. I only found out by accident, an overheard conversation, not meant for my ears. In that moment, I felt two things at once. First, the sting of betrayal, and second, confusion. How could someone I thought I knew so well have hidden this from me for so long? I replayed every conversation we'd ever had, every time they'd smiled, every time they'd said, "Trust me." And for the first time, I saw the cracks, the little signs that I had ignored because I didn't want to believe they were real. That's when I started looking, not in a paranoid way, but with eyes open. I began to watch people more closely, not just what they said, but how they said it. Not just the words they chose, but the moments they stayed silent. And the more I looked, the more I realized Nietzsche was right. The masks were everywhere. And some people were so good at wearing them, you'd never know unless you were willing to look past the performance. That moment changed the way I see everyone, and the way I let people get close to me. That's when I realized people aren't who they present themselves to be. It wasn't just a hunch or a passing doubt. It became a truth I could no longer unsee. The smiles, the politeness, the casual conversations. All of it felt like a carefully rehearsed play. I started to notice patterns. How some people would change their tone depending on who was in the room. How opinions shifted. not because they discovered new truths, but because they wanted to fit in. It was as if authenticity had been replaced by performance, and the audience was everyone. This search for what lies beneath the surface led me straight into Nietzsche's world. He didn't see humans as fixed, honest beings. He saw us as creatures of masks, layers built to protect, to hide, and sometimes to manipulate. For Nietzsche, truth was never handed to you. It had to be wrestled from the grip of appearances, torn away from the comfort of illusions. He believed the greatest challenge in life wasn't just to see through other people's masks, but to confront your own. Because we don't just lie to others, we lie to ourselves. We create stories to feel safe, to feel good, to avoid the raw, uncomfortable truth about who we are. And once you see this, once you see that the world is a theater and everyone is playing a role, you can never truly go back to watching the show the same way again. Nietzsche believed that every person lives with two selves: the social self, the version we show the world, and the true self, the version that exists when no one is watching. The social self is polished, careful and safe. It knows what to say, what to hide, and how to win approval. It smiles at people we secretly dislike. It nods along to ideas we don't fully agree with. It plays the game because the game is where comfort lives. But the true self? That's raw. That's where your real thoughts live, the ones you don't share, the impulses you suppress, the desires, fears, and truths you keep locked away because they might not be accepted. Nietzsche argued that society rewards the mask, not the reality. We are trained from childhood to wear it well, to blend in, to be agreeable, to avoid standing out too much. And the longer we wear it, the harder it becomes to tell where the mask ends and where we begin. The danger is, if you live only as the social self, you can spend an entire lifetime never truly meeting your real self. You can become a stranger to the person you were meant to be. Nietzsche's challenge wasn't just to recognize the mask. It was to rip it off, to dare to face the awkward, sometimes uncomfortable truth of who you really are, even if the world turns away. Because only when you live as your true self, he believed, can you claim real freedom. Nietzsche believed the world doesn't just tolerate masks, it rewards them. Think about it. In the workplace, the person who gets promoted isn't always the most skilled. It's often the one who knows how to play the part. They smile in meetings, agree with the right people, and never let their real frustrations show. They wear the perfect employee mask, and the system praises them for it. On social media, we see the same game. People post curated moments, the vacation sunsets, the perfect coffee, the just woke up like this photos that took an hour to stage. It's not their life. It's their presentation of life. And the more convincing the mask, the more likes and followers they get. In romance, masks are even trickier. At the start of a relationship, we show only the sweetest, most charming parts of ourselves. We hide the messy habits, the insecurities, the moments of doubt. We're selling an idea of ourselves, not the whole truth. Nietzsche saw this as a kind of unspoken contract in society. Hide your real motives, and you'll fit in. Play the role people expect, and they'll give you trust, status, and opportunity. But here's the trap. When the mask works too well, you start believing it yourself. You forget the parts of you that don't fit the script. You bury them so deep that even you can't reach them anymore. That's why Nietzsche warned, the mask may win you the world, but it can cost you your soul. Nietzsche believed one of the biggest reasons we wear masks is survival. Not survival in the dramatic life or death sense, but the everyday kind. The survival of fitting in, of avoiding conflict, of making sure we're not the ones standing out for the wrong reasons. Think about it. When you start a new job, you don't show your full self on day one. You watch, you listen, you figure out what's safe to say and what's not. You adjust your tone, your expressions, even your opinions. Not because you're fake, but because you're trying to find your place in the group. It happens in school, too. Kids quickly learn which parts of themselves get laughed at, ignored, or judged. So they hide those parts. They wear the mask that keeps them accepted, even if it means silencing who they really are. Nietzsche saw this as a natural instinct, a social camouflage. Just like animals blend into their surroundings to avoid predators, humans blend into their social environment to avoid criticism, rejection, or attack. But here's the cost. The longer we wear this mask for survival, the more we start to forget what our real face looks like. And that's when survival stops being a choice and starts being a prison. The second reason Nietzsche believed people wear masks is advancement, using charm as a kind of currency. In the real world, being skilled isn't always enough. Sometimes, the key to moving forward is knowing how to present yourself. Charm becomes a tool, a handshake, a smile, a well-timed compliment. Not because it's fake, but because it's useful. Think about the workplace. Two people might be equally good at their jobs, but the one who knows how to talk to the right people, how to make them feel valued, how to project confidence, that's the one who often gets the promotion. It's not always about talent. It's about perception. And this doesn't just happen at work. We see it in friendships, where certain people keep their social standing by always being fun, always agreeable, always knowing the right thing to say. They're not showing the full picture, just the parts that keep them in the room. Then there's control, the third reason for wearing masks. This is about hiding weakness or intentions. Because in a world where people are quick to judge, revealing too much can make you vulnerable. Maybe you've been in a group conversation where you disagreed but stayed silent, not because you didn't have an opinion, but because showing it would have given away your position. Or maybe you've acted more confident than you felt. A presentation, a date, a first meeting. Not because you wanted to lie, but because you knew the other person would respond better to strength than hesitation. We even do it with strangers. A polite nod to the neighbor you barely know. A friendly, "I'm fine," when you're not. Little masks, worn so quickly and naturally, we barely notice we're putting them on. Nietzsche understood that masks aren't always malicious. Sometimes they're strategic. But the danger is this: the more we master the mask, the harder it becomes to live without it. Because once people expect the version of you that advances and controls, they may never accept the version that's real. Sometimes you can't quite explain it, but you feel it. It's in the way their eyes smile half a second later than their mouth, like the expression had to be switched on instead of flowing naturally. Their praise feels practiced. The words are nice, but there's no weight behind them, as if they've said the same line 100 times before. You nod, you smile back. But a small part of you wonders who that compliment was really for. Then there are their stories. They're always just a little too perfect. Every detail neatly tied up, every ending in their favor, as if life has been nothing but smooth victories. No awkward moments, no flaws, no cracks for the truth to slip through. And maybe you've noticed how they avoid certain topics entirely. When the conversation drifts too close to something personal, they redirect smoothly, skillfully, without you even realizing it at first. It's not obvious. It's not dramatic. It's just off. A faint disconnect between what they say and what they show. These moments are easy to ignore, but they're the quiet hints that the person you're seeing might not be the person who's really there. Nietzsche believed you can never fully hide the truth. because it leaks in the details. It's in the pauses between words, the tone that slips when they're tired, the flicker of the eyes when something hits too close. A mask can cover the face, but it can't control every movement, every breath, every tiny reaction. Even the best pretenders leave fingerprints of their real self scattered in their behavior. If you pay attention, really pay attention, the truth is always there, quiet, subtle, but impossible to erase. The cost of never seeing the mask is far greater than most people imagine. Because when you live blind to hidden motives, you hand over the keys to your trust. And trust is the most valuable thing you own. You become easy to manipulate. You start believing stories that were never meant to be true. You invest your time, your energy, your heart into people who only see you as a tool, a stepping stone, or a shield for their own weaknesses. This isn't about paranoia. It's not about walking through life suspicious of every smile. It's about refusing to be the easy prey. When you can't see the mask, you're walking into a game you don't know you're playing. And in that game, you'll always lose. Not because you're weak, but because you never even realized the rules were rigged. The danger isn't just in being deceived. It's in the slow erosion of your belief in others. One betrayal at a time, you stop trusting people who are actually worth trusting. And in the end, you're left with nothing but walls. Walls that keep out the harm, but also keep out the love. Seeing the mask doesn't just protect you. It keeps your faith in humanity from being stolen piece by piece. Learning to see through masks isn't an instant trick. It's not like flipping a switch and suddenly knowing everyone's secrets. It's a skill, one that Nietzsche believed you have to sharpen over time. He saw solitude as the first step. When you spend time alone, without the noise of other people's opinions, you start to hear your own mind more clearly. And once you know yourself, you can spot the difference between your thoughts and the ones others are trying to plant in you. The second step is self-awareness. If you don't understand your own motives, you'll project them onto others, and that's how you miss the truth. But when you know what drives you, you can begin to see what drives them. And then there's careful listening, not just to words, but to the pauses between them, to the tone, the timing, the way someone's expression flickers for just a moment before settling back into place. This isn't about being cynical. It's about training your perception until the little cracks in the mask become impossible to ignore. Because once you see them, you can decide for yourself who's worth trusting and who's just playing a part. Most people think spotting a mask is about studying them. Their words, their body language, their little slips. But Nietzsche knew the truth runs deeper. If you can't read yourself, you'll never truly read anyone else. We all have our own masks. The polite smile when we're frustrated. The confident tone when we're unsure. The silence when we want to speak. These masks aren't always lies. Sometimes they're shields. But if you don't see them for what they are, they become part of the illusion you live in. When you understand your own patterns, your triggers, your insecurities, your hidden motives, you start to recognize those same patterns in others. It's like learning a language by first understanding the one you already speak. And here's the shift. The more honest you are with yourself, the less likely you are to fall for the polished performances of others. Because you've seen the tricks in your own reflection. So yes, reading people matters. But reading yourself, that's where the real power begins. Nietzsche didn't see every mask as a lie. Some masks are armor, the kind you wear to protect your heart, your dreams, or your peace. The problem isn't the mask itself. It's forgetting why you put it on in the first place. There are moments when the mask should come off, with the people who've earned your trust, with the rare friend who listens without judgment, with yourself in the quiet spaces where you don't have to perform. That's where real connection grows, where your true self can breathe. But there are times when the mask must stay, in a room where your vulnerability will be used against you, in the company of those who only seek weakness to exploit. In a world that can be quick to wound, a mask can be the difference between surviving and breaking. The wisdom lies in knowing the difference. Drop the mask when it opens a door to truth. Keep it when it keeps you safe. Authenticity isn't about being bare all the time. It's about choosing when to show your face and when to let the mask do its work. Once you see the mask, you can never unsee it. It's like a trick of the light. Once you've noticed the shape behind the shadow, it's impossible to go back to the way things looked before. At first, it feels unsettling. You start noticing the pauses before people answer, the way a laugh doesn't quite match the eyes, the subtle shifts when they realize they're being watched. But then something changes. You realize you're no longer moving through the world blindly. You're seeing the hidden game, the motives, the fears, the silent calculations. And with that sight comes choice. You can play along, knowing exactly what's happening. You can step back, protect your energy, refuse to feed the act, or you can walk away entirely. Nietzsche's point was never to make you suspicious of everyone. It was to make you awake. Because once you see the mask, you're no longer just a character in someone else's performance. You're the one deciding whether the play is worth staying for. Once you see the mask, you can never unsee it. It's like a light turning on in a room you thought you knew. Suddenly, every shadow has shape, every glance has meaning. You start noticing the pauses, the polished smiles, the words chosen like careful moves in a game. You see what's being said and what's being hidden, and in that moment, you hold the power. You can play along, understanding the game, or you can step away, protecting your peace. Nietzsche's truth is this: seeing the mask changes everything. Because once you see it, you're no longer part of the illusion, unless you choose to be.